I've covered the Mikov Predator a few times before. It's a pretty traditional lever lock auto made over in Czechoslovakia. This style of lock mechanism is very common on European autos. But it has one incredibly unique feature, which is redundant leaf springs that are easily user replaceable with no tools. You can pick these up, most places that sell Mikovs also stock the replacement springs. They come in a 2-pack. Typically they only break one at a time though. But all you have to do is take your old spring or your new spring, use it to lift up the old broken spring, and you've got a slip joint style back spring here that, instead of working to hold the blade in position, actually works to hold the springs wedged up against this pin. So when you lift the spring, it cams around, rotates out around that pin, and then you would take your new one. I'm just going to put the old one back in here right now. Slip it in from the bottom, and it pops right into place. Incredibly ingenious, and solves a big issue that a lot of people have with autos, which is, what if your spring breaks? Well, the Mikov, it has two, so even if you break one, it'll still open, just not with the quite the same snap. And two, when you get home, you can easily replace the spring. But the Mikov being a traditional auto, this is done in, I think it's 420, might be 440. It's a 400 series stainless. It's a stainless frame. They come in traditional handle materials, so it is somewhat dated. So, back in, focus, 2011, Microtech Knives, Tony Marfione, did a modernized and upgraded copy of the Mikov Predator called the OSS Cobra. I don't think I've ever seen a video of these two side by side, so I have been dying to get this opportunity for years. They are pretty much exactly the same size. Externally, the obvious upgrades that we can see are, it's got a pocket clip and a lanyard loop there. The frame is titanium, I believe, and I'm sure it's got an upgraded blade steel versus the traditional Mikov stainless. It's also got screwed together construction, which is nice. The Mikov is all pinned construction, so sadly I can't take this one apart to show you exactly what's going on inside. But I'm sure you've guessed, since the tools are out, I fully intend to take this one apart. We can see from the butt here that Tony did keep the redundant spring mechanism from the Mikov. I'm not sure. I don't think this backspacer will actually flex to allow you to change them without tools though. I'm not going to try and pry it out to check. We're just gonna go for an actual disassembly and find out what's going on in here. One thing I'm pretty sure of, it feels like it's on bearings. Oh, and one other thing before I crack it open that I noticed. It has a really unique interrupted stop pin setup. So you've got a stop pin on either side that engage with, you can see right there, there's a groove with a stop divot instead of a hole or a slot for the stop pin to engage with. And it, focus, yeah, it's really hard to see with this lighting, but yeah, it's really interesting that he went with an interrupted stop pin, or just a traditional stop pin, or even just having it hit the backspacer like the Mikov does. So let's find out what's actually going on inside this thing. I think this was probably assembled from this side. I think I see some tool marks on this screw. So we're going to start here. That actually appears to be a barrel that goes all the way through. Yeah, it does. We can use this Mikov spring to help us out here. Lift that puppy up. There we go. Slide you out. At some point this screw's gonna, there we go, drop out. And let me pull the lanyard loop out. Oh, you are spinning. I did not grab a second bit. Alright, we're going to pause this for just a second while I get something to hold that piece of mouse pad or something. Alright, we got the offending screw broken loose. This one loose. The pivot. Oh, there we go. Pivot loosens from this side. That was weird. We had one barrel coming through from this side, and this barrel coming. I guess all the barrels come through from this side. No, this one comes through from that side. So yeah, there is definitely some weirdness to how this one was assembled. Let's see. Off you. And get the springs out. Those are. Yeah, slightly different. There's the main difference is the size of the pin that they locate on. Slight difference in the curve, but and they're thicker than the Mikov springs. Are these? Yeah, they're steel. Thought for a second they might be titanium. Yeah. Alright. And let's get into here. I'm a little concerned. There we go. I'm worried if we might have loose bearings. Nope, they're in cages. Very good. Alright. So now we can see. And you know what? That I wouldn't try it without confirming it with Tony. Oh, nope, never mind. I got ahead of myself. That hole, this pin. Yeah, there's no way the back spring can flex. The back spacer can flex to allow you to replace the springs without tools. Yeah. But now you can see this interrupted stop pin setup. You can see there's a groove that leads into a dimple there. Oh, you know what? It's not a stop pin. That is a double detent. There's a detent on each side of the blade spring loaded, and it actually drops in there. This thing, you can barely feel it. Yeah, I didn't even really notice that when I had it apart. It could just be that this old grease was keeping this thing from having as free of an action as it should have had. Yeah. You can also see your big square block, big square hole that the locking block drops down into in the closed position, and same thing, it drops behind that notch in the tang there in the open position. There's a very similar thing going on with the Mikov. You can see you've got a locking notch there, and then there's a square hole in the tang. Right there, you can see it. So yeah, now we know. The Cobra definitely has some cool upgrades. You know, the titanium frame and everything is very nice, modern materials, bearing pivot system. It uses a double detent instead of the flexing back spring that the Mikov has. Does keep the redundant springs. I just wish Tony had kept the toolless spring change. That would have been very cool. And you know, of course, I wish Tony had given Mikov credit for the design, but it is what it is. So there you go. I won't bore you with putting this thing back together, but now we know. We have seen a Mikov and a Microtech Cobra side by side.